You know what? You don't like D.Va, and Gogora knows it. He's doing it just for you.
Voice lines make me want to kill myself. Let's go ahead and watch some Overwatch. We are Eternal going to be attacking first, and again, we're just going to have a big Ghost, Winston on the side of Talon.
Just sort of expected here, once again, Talon Esports to want to aggress quite quickly. Amgo is low.
So is Ison. It's the loss of Ison. It's a lot more troubling for this team here. That's the power of that Orb of Discord. And you see, even with Villeneuve having that Orb on, they just haven't had that same damage output. Plus, with that extra mobility, he's able to get back to safety. A little bit easier.
We're Eternal here, just hit a brick wall. Find it trades, which is the real unfortunate thing. They need to find something in response to force Talon Esports to wait for respawns.
Grace just playing Uber here.
Yeah, he's got to wait for this new opportunity. Villeneuve just waiting by the wings.
Give Grace 5 stars. That's going to be the rotation here from We're Eternal. Nice boot from Grace, gave them a bit of safety. Nice and preemptive as well, as Villeneuve was jumping in at that point.
It's going to be the rallies coming up first, and Persia's not too far off for Transcendence. This time around, or at least We're Eternal, 2 minutes to rotate fully. Oh, they lose 2 members.
That's so rough, but I mean, that's the power of this team comp here out of Talon. They actually can bump up and harass that high ground. We're Eternal know they're done for. That's a nice catch on the back end of that, but Ison is taking a dive anyway. Doesn't quite make it off the edge. A couple of his teammates do, though.
A decent clean spots. Now we are finding that at least they did get a trade back, and against a very slow member as well. There's actually a chance now that Paru goes back to try and taxi Persia into the fight, and he does, which means both supports currently are out of this engagement. If We're Eternal Gaming connect quickly here, they can have a 6v4.
Stun goes out there. Doesn't quite connect, didn't get much. Earthshatter off to the
I don't
side.
know about that.
Yeah, difficult to follow up on because look at how much harassment Villeneuve is throwing out there. Now self-destruct laid on top of the grab. They're able to survive that one out, but kind of losing the mech is still just rough. It's a little bit of more weakness in that tank fight. Now much more weakness as they lose Ison. They're only the one counter trade here. We are Eternal are really struggling to make headway.
And the patience and discipline by Talon Esports as well, just to say, wait for the supports. We know they're coming back here. We have to go back, get that 6v6 going, and We're Eternal trying to force the issue, which is definitely the correct move to make, but they need to be able to find enough damage, enough already pressure onto the 4 remaining members of Talon to get that initial pick off, find the 6v5 for themselves to clean up this game. But right now, 1 minute 35 remaining, grab available. This has to connect.
And I mean, the Earthshatter connection, they just couldn't follow up on it, so it's, oh no. Eaten by Gogora.
That's about the fourth one this game.
Iconic duo, and that's the self-destruct Sky High. Does find Villeneuve. So, finally a numbers advantage for We're Eternal. Let's see if they can now make hay while the sun shines upon them. First coming up on a Transcendence. Done on Junwoo, but no follow up. Ison a little low. They need to keep him topped. Rally from Amgo gives them a bit more headroom. And they do have a Transcendence on Junwoo if they need to. So they find Aquila. Things start to look just a little bit better for We're Eternal.
It's still very delayed though, and Talon Esports want to throw ultimates into this. They have a lot of confidence to say maybe we can survive this, maybe we can bring it back around.
Oh, it's such a shame to not be able to combo that with the self-destruct, and they nearly actually saved Gogora's mech there with the sound barrier, but now it gets popped off again a second time, and this time not quite so willingly.
Getting kills
on the re-entry, and a weak thread in the needle on Junwoo. This is now Jasmine in a really tight spot. They decide to commit the grab and the Earthshatter, but that's an overcommitment now because Ison died. Kana, self-destruct, will not get back in the mech after that. They did not layer those ultimates up adequately, and now haven't even got a third with less than 30 seconds to go.
And let's remind ourselves here that Talon Esports were at a player disadvantage when they went back, and then followed by the grab as well. Villeneuve throws the Primal Rage in there. We're Eternal, they looked like they were going to cap. In fact, they don't even get 1 tick.
This is such an unfortunate situation. Jasmine's had to go over onto the wrecking ball just so that they have a bit more of a shot at getting to this point in time. Now 5 seconds, someone's got a barrel for it, and I don't think they're going to get there. Kana, oh, they do just barely get in, but they lose Ison in the rotation. They are now really back to get down. Junwoo as well. Talon, they've still got so many ultimates just sitting in the bank there, cashing the check now as Amgo goes down. Kana ends up taking the
Grace.
Grace is going to double back, but it's only Jasmine alive and caught up in that grab. He can't touch the point itself. That is a full hold with not even a third.
That's the kind of commanding, I would even say, map that Talon Esports actually won here. They've had a lot of scrappy wins where, look, they do get the win into the end. Let's take another look here. Grace's boot right towards the end just finds a nice angle. Just unfortunate though, doesn't, if this happened a lot earlier, if the fight, they had more time, they didn't have to dash towards this point, they had time to properly set up, then get to play 6v4, this would be great, but the level of confidence that Talon Esports get to come back in with to say, look, we may be down members, but we trust the Transcendence to get us into this fight. We trust the Graviton Surge to find value, and for the Primal Rage to get the delayed tactics, and for Villeneuve to actually get enough damage to clean up kills as well. Villeneuve and the rest of Talon Esports just slowly powering themselves back into this, and now on the verge of cleaning up 3-0. They only need one tick to finish this map, and it will certainly be one of the quickest maps that Talon Esports have played.
This is... This is a real team composition. I honestly thought they were going to change
Not a fake one.
Yeah. Junwoo does change, so he's not going to be sticking on the Genji, but aside from that, this is interesting. It's essentially a 2-2-2.
What they are saying here is we're expecting Ryan Goats to come out of Talon Esports on the offense, and playing the Mei, specifically the Mei here, is to sort of break up that offense and is to sort of force potential cutoffs here where they can just find picks, especially someone like Kana on the Doomfist. To get a free rocket punch, the wall definitely counts as knockback as well. With the Bio Nade on top of Grace, they're really putting all their eggs in the basket of countering out this Goat's healer, even looking to start out on the Hog.
You're going to have to time it well, and they have actually hit in this team comp as well, so Talon shouldn't be expecting to...
Where's the wall?
Oh, it doesn't really get enough of a cut off, and now Ison super low, no one low on the side of Talon. Actually, that's a lie. Gagora is out of the mech now, good hook, but Ison's going to be able to kite back. Jasmine, though, not so lucky. A week able to find that one, and now it's essentially even Stevens while Gagora's out of the mech now down. Good catch, and this is where they can make some headway, but losing Kana, trade back on Villeneuve. This is just two back and forth right now.
But right now as well, we're going to need to find a few more kills. Note the runs, the respawn distance for Talon Esports. They do have advantage here. Sleeping member should be cleaned up.
They do have a nano boost coming up available as well out of Grace. So if desperately needed, they can throw that out. Coalescence from Persia, quite a far way away as Gagora goes in deep. They get the nano boost off there because Grace is taking some pressure. That's huge now out of We're Eternal to rotate into those ultimates. They secured that defense, but they have drained themselves dry.
Can't hit the Graviton Surge when Gagora's not even playing the Diva. And for Talon Esports as well, while they have Gagora on the ham and trying to pressure out the point, you have an Ursula from Ison, cleans up two, followed by the Graviton Surge, and We're Eternal force a full reset against Talon, who now do get to come back in with the Graviton Surge, but enough time has been lost here that it could affect them.
That's a huge grab already, and Ambio, Jasmine, Ison all dead, totally out of position on that one. It is almost certain to be a cap. Even the Meteor Strike doesn't even get one kill back. Junwoo does find one, but he is now down and out for the count. That's the 1/3 that secures Talon a 4-0 record now in the season at minimum.
What I want to say, especially for that kind of defense, is if you are Talon Esports and maybe you are hitting a bit of a brick wall there or a bit of an ice wall, you can change things up. You can say, look, you're playing a Mei, you're playing Doomfist, maybe we play a Pharah here. Maybe we even play something like a Widowmaker that can really abuse long sight range, especially against something like a Doom and a Mei. They have options. And for a team like Talon that know they have 4 minutes to cap out 1/3, they can just play the clock on it. It might take them all the way until overtime, but if they play correctly, they're going to ensure that cap. But they stuck to their wits and they said, we're going to be very confident here. We're going to stick to what we currently have in terms of this composition. And even though we're brawling and it is very even, we know we have respawn advantages here. We know we can come back very quickly. Gagora knows that, swaps onto the Hammond, tries to get in there fast. They did get punished, they did get forced back for one push, but when they came back, it was commanding and they went straight away.
The reality is, actually, it goes a step beyond that. Technically speaking, Talon could have done nothing and still won the series because a draw would still be a win for them in this situation. So as soon as that full hold came through, unfortunately, We Are Eternal, they didn't have a shot at having a reverse sweep. But actually still, Talon, you do want to get that map win, obviously. It's good for the map differential. And let's get real, there's also the kind of pride point of preserving their 4-0 record that they've actually maintained for these last 2 weeks. That would leave them with only 1 week actually having dropped maps in their series. If they can retain
that went to 5 maps versus Nova.
Yeah, if they can retain that record now, the 4-0, that sets them up so well coming up against Xavier. So again, it's still pressure on We Are Eternal to at least make Talon bleed a little bit, help their own map differential out.
I think it would have been absolutely insane if they went to draw there. The fact that they can maintain a full hold onto A, only have to cap out a third.
It would still say something, right?
If they failed to cap that 1/3, that would be quite the surprise indeed. So a very well-deserved map win there. But we are going to go into map 4. There is still opportunity for We Are Eternal to collect some points here. Map type number 4 is going to be Escort, so let's go ahead and find out how that works.
Welcome to Watchpoint Gibraltar. This is Escort. 2 teams face off as either defenders or attackers. This is the payload. The attacking team has a limited amount of time to escort the payload along a set path containing 3 checkpoints. The payload only moves forward when an attacker stands near it. Defenders can delay the payload's movement by standing nearby at the same time. To get moving again, attackers must clear away the defenders by force. Every time the payload reaches a checkpoint, the attackers score 1 point and gain additional time on the clock. If even one attacker is near the payload when the clock runs out, the game enters overtime. This extends play indefinitely until the attackers are either cleared off the payload or they gain more time by reaching a checkpoint. The round ends when the payload reaches the destination or when time runs out. Teams switch sides each round. Whichever team scores the most points and escorts the payload farthest wins.
We are in a sort of scenario here. Despite being down 0-3, we are Eternal Gaming are still fighting for the opportunity to break into that top 4, to go into playoffs. And now more than ever, they do need to play for map scores. They need to play for map differential, because if there is a tiebreaker scenario, which there likely could be for them, that's the situation they're in. They need every single map they can get.
It's tough, right? There's no two ways about it. This is a tough position for We Are Eternal to be in. And it was always going to be. Even though they were technically at the top of that 3-way tie, the fact that they had to play Talon still, while the other 2 teams in that tie already had, was always going to be a bit of a sore point for them. And I mean, the series is as good as lost now. It's all just about exactly what that map record will be. The map to be played out now, the pick for We Are Eternal, will be Route 66.
This is where, thinking back now as well, for Talon Esports, they can go into this map in terms of confidence levels, looking to maybe experiment a little. When we have been here in the past, it's been a 3-0. We start to see, I believe there was an example where they did run triple DPS. I think it was against Lynx TH on the 4th map, which was Route 66. They decided to bring all 3 DPSs out, still managed to hold that map anyway. So going into this, not that map score doesn't matter to them as much. I think, you know, if they're, well,
there's still that point of pride, right?
I don't think they can be in a bit of a tie scenario anymore, unless Xavier drop tonight's match and then beat Talon Esports and they're both sitting at 4-1, you would be at a tiebreaker scenario.
Yeah,
but likely,
that's fair.
On paper, you would expect both Xavier and Talon to clean up 4-0 and go up against each other squared off entirely, which means in terms of map differential, probably not as insanely important as it is for We Are Eternal Gaming. That on top of the fact that this is likely to be at minimum 2 4-0s in a row, whereas Xavier don't have any of those. So if we do get into map differential, I think there's a good chance Talon Esports come out ahead anyway. But definitely a possibility for them to experiment a little bit more. For a team that plays super safe across every other map, this is probably where the time for them to sort of bring something else out. There it is, all 3 of them.
Oh, sick.
Well, now there's just 2 of them.
Yeah, triple DPS. So this is obviously a strat that Talon want to lean on. Maybe not for all escort, but at least for Route 66.
They are attacking first as well, so likely we're going to see a decent amount of this map, assuming Talon Esports is going to make it towards the end here. But there's a lot of DPS, like you mentioned there.
Yeah. I mean, triple DPS from Talon is interestingly enough. At least they've done it before, but it's the quad out of We Are Eternal. They're expecting goats, and they're definitely not going to come up against it with Talon fielding this lineup. And you see that now reflected. Talon, they can just kind of outmaneuver We Are Eternal, who are all too squishy.
And by the way, we go from goats versus goats for 3 maps in a row to suddenly 7 DPS on the map at the same time. I got to say, it's a different change of pace here. I think everyone has to sort of play a little bit differently. Especially when you know there's a lot of low health bars. Everyone's dying very quickly. I'm not used to this right now. What I gotta say is, when it takes so long for Ghost members to kill each other, then this is just like bam, 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 like 6 members
I know,
dead.
it's like, yeah, I'm still time to talk about team compositions. Still just skirmishing out here. I mean, neither team has really taken their foot off the pedal, but actually this is a point where Talon aren't actually making forward progress. We are Eternal is sticking on a quad DPS here.
And the thing is, you can get a lot of value out of all DPSs, despite there only being one healer. If you just keep forcing these fights, if you play chaotic, you don't get into a slow brawl, you don't get into a slow poke scenario, your 4 DPSs has a lot of damage output.
I mean, this is just wild. This is so all over the place.
Well, now there's no healer.
Yeah, finally it does seem Talon are getting the advantage of this. Awake actually collecting a very nice rack of kills there. And with just over 2 minutes remaining, they are looking like they will cap A.
And they're going to have the decent amount of ultimates to play into the next point as well, and not quite as many for Weird Eternal. In fact, just the one so far. You'd even expect here, maybe Junwoo changes. I'm even thinking there's a world where Junwoo goes on to Brigida, but wants to maintain the Pulse Bomb charge so far.
You know, there's a really curious window that exists with this, and that is when the Ana has to reload. That's when your damage is really going to stick. And honestly, with all these DPSs, that is a really punishing window. Straight in, speaking of Grace, on top of him with the EMP laid in. Kind of does get one back, so credit where it's due, but Akila's got something to say about that. That's going to be a pretty tidy clean up from Talon.
I think there's actually a critical mass point where I was kind of touching up on this, but once you have so many DPSs, the healing is just not as important anymore because you're playing very quick fights anyway. You're playing for maximum damage output. You don't need healing if you can just kill everyone very quick. And it gets a massive DPS lineup on the Talon side as well. TYG now going onto his own Tracer. This is like a Tracer playground. There's no Brigidas anywhere in sight.
This is going to have to be a Nanoblade combo to go on to Amgio. That is certainly what they want to lean on here. That also means Jasmine needs to find an angle for an EMP. Going in for it now, trying to fish something out. As the Transcendence there, it's not a good time. Now Jasmine is stuck in a grab. Little less than ideal. Slam dunk onto Grace as well. And suddenly that Nanoblade is still sitting in the pocket of Weird Eternal, having not gone used, and Talon have continued the payload movement.
Weird Eternal Gaming had about 5 ultimates there. They had the freedom of choice to do anything they wanted.
They chose to do nothing.
And unfortunately, well, I mean, they chose to use the EMP, and they chose to use a couple of things, but it just didn't quite hit. And Talon Esports now pushing with 4 minutes 30 still remaining. For now, they don't have any reason to change. They can continue playing this composition all the way through to the Terminus if they want to. Junwoo's going to swap onto the Widowmaker, which doesn't really contest Tracer super well. I think TYG's going to have a great time flanking.
Well, Akila's not, so that's one thing. Junwoo is at least making his presence known, and it's only been Akila that's died to Junwoo. This is finally the Nanoblade combo that they were wanting. That's going to be Persia down. This should be a veritable smorgasbord for Amgio. Finds Kagura as well, looking maybe for Akila. Can't quite get close enough to him. They'll just have to take the 2 and turn tail.
I gotta say, the only member here who's definitely not having fun is Persia. As the Zenyatta against 4 DPSs, they can all kind of dive at you. That's not a lot of fun.
All right, now it's Awik's turn. He's already scooped up Grace, looking to find his co-Genji. Amgio actually ends up going down to Persia. So actually Persia's not having too bad a time, all things considered, but that's only 1 kill actually out of Awik.
Now we're seeing a decent amount of changes. Grace onto the Lucio. Jasmine was on Brigida, is now going to go onto the Zarya. There's going to be goats coming out of Weird Eternal now, assuming Junwoo changes as well. And he does for Talon Esports. They're going to have to respond to this. They can't just keep playing DPSs.
Or can they? Certainly we'll have to see.
Definitely not TYG.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't play the Tracer.
Yeah, and I mean, Awik as well has a slightly harder time connecting those picks now as well. There's just less headshottable targets. Kagura already down. This is the power of the mobility out of the Winston Goats, just kind of doing what it does.
Well, the Winston Goats version is slightly easier to snipe against because there's generally less shielding to have to play around. But Awik does need to find decent angles, and so far he's been pressured out.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to do that. That's the reality. TYG does at least thread a pulse bomb onto Grace. Probably going to change off that pick now, though, so wouldn't be surprised if that was just for the sake of using it. Now Talon, they do need to change up.
Yeah, we'll see who changes. Again, TYG probably maybe onto something like a Brigida here, just to challenge Action if he decides to dive in. Goes on the Sombra instead, so they're playing for the long game here. They're playing 3 members of Talon as well. Maybe someone needs to change the Reaper and Moira.
It's a bit of an interesting one here for Talon. I do kind of like this, and I mean, they play this triple DPS into Goats knowingly. That's actually what they were intending to do. So, TYG finding out Ice in there. Now Akila looking for the backline with a Meteor Strike, just goes back to the payload instead. Doesn't want to find himself in too deep. But this is still Talon numbers advantage, pushing forward.
They certainly are. Grav ready to go as well. TYG's working his way up to the EMP. Still getting a decent amount of momentum, still getting a decent amount of kills.
Huge damage onto Amgio, just becomes insurmountable. Throws the grab out, finds Jasmine, drills him down. Nobody else is in the grab, but the damage has been done. Now Junwoo, so low, pops out of the mech despite the Transcendence. Now Ison going to follow that one to the grave. And look at this, they're still barely stopping the payload from moving now. Looking like it'll be going over the line, and Talon. Triple DPS, apparently it beats 4 DPS and GOATs.
Well, the thing is, they never really took their foot off the pedal there. They just kept on pushing through, decided that 3 DPS was going to be valuable. If they run 3 DPS members here, note that they lost one of their tanks in terms of substitutions. They have to continue playing what they're strong at. Villeneuve's out of the mix here, so they need to be playing their best hits. And for TYG, he's a hit scan specialist. He's going to be playing stuff like Tracer. He's going to be playing stuff like Sombra. And against the GOATs, especially on that final point as well, with long sightlines, a week can definitely find some decent shots as a Widowmaker against a team that is not running Orion.
This is kind of exactly what we wanted to see out of Talon with those 3 DPSs on their lineup. We want to see them leaning into each one's respective talent pool to be able to, well, I mean, hero pool and pool of talent insofar as how good, you know what, I'm not going to justify it, you all knew what I meant.
Swimming pool.
Yeah, the Talon swimming pool can fit 3 whole DPSs in it at once. But the more important thing is, I mean, we actually did see that. We saw TYG onto a bit of Tracer. We saw him onto I believe very briefly he was on a Widow. He also played a lot for Sombra. We see Aquila moving in and off different picks. And if worse comes to worse, they can sub someone into a Brigida. So they've got a lot of options. The real tell will be, what do We Are Eternal do? Talon almost must play triple DPS.
The other thing is, Talon Esports were never really forced off it. They never hit a brick wall there. They never were fully recent enough. They thought, okay, this is no longer working. We can't find any more value here. They were still getting small fight wins. When they were losing, it wasn't by very much, so they just didn't have a reason to swap off unless We Are Eternal was seriously pushing them out, unless We Are Eternal was saying, no, you actually can't play this anymore.
Now We Are Eternal, this is a 2-2-2, but not the one you'd expect. Look at who is on what. Jasmine over on a Zenyatta. Junwoo is obviously their resident Widowmaker. Let's put Amgyo on a secondary tank.
Oh, well, he's definitely doing the headshots on the Widowmaker so far. That is player advantage that they lose very quickly.
Yep, and now it's disadvantage that is going to maintain until We Are Eternal get reached. Amgyo going down. This is just so unfortunate. I think he's going to have to take a dive here.
I do want to say, you know, it's not uncommon. We do see the Pharmacy combo come out with the Widowmaker. Look at GE Pantheon, it's one of their specialties.
Yeah.
But currently against this kind of composition, they're playing up against triple DPS. That type of comp works well against GOATs in the most part.
Geez.
Now we're seeing some more changes with Amgyo freshly onto a Hanzo, and Jasmine onto the old Ana.
I mean, that feels like a really forced res. Look at this, Awik is just having a field day. He's putting so much pressure down and it's almost completely unanswered. Even against
no Brigida.
tanks. Yeah, no Brigida, and also being able to have the extra healer here means Awik can consistently stay at a higher health total than most of the DPSs on We Are Eternal. Now he goes Hunter Killer on Ison, who had the Mercy in the pocket. Gogora finally going down to a whole hog, but I don't know what Khan is expecting to get out of that. They don't have a numbers advantage here. Blade's going to shank them in the back now, and We Are Eternal are just getting nowhere.
Yeah, this just fight needs to reset at some point. They need to slow things down. They need to look for the picks. They have a good pick composition. I mean, now they're going to go Ison onto the Orisa, so it's going to be the whole hook combo coming out from them, which can still be very effective, especially if they can catch some of these DPSs. That's going to be super good. It's double sniper as well. It's like we're playing Junkertown in Season 2.
I know, this is so weird. It's old school, man. I mean, comparatively, it's not as old as Dive, but double sniper with the whole hook combo? And Talon playing triple DPS? Like, what?
Yeah, I don't know what timeline we're in right now, and they have missed the first combo with the hold hook. They are getting card distance though, so it's not all for naught.
That shield is just a little bit harder to contest, but like I was about to say, they had the EMP. TYG, he was one step ahead. He's already committed it. The cleanup is all there. And again, look, decent card distance, but We Are Eternal are still far behind the 8 ball here.
And there's a lot of good reason for We Are Eternal to play slow here. They have 2 snipers, which means they can wait for picks. They can wait for hold hook. They can just wait for combos to find these player advantages. But because they've been prior to this fight anyway, constantly looking for fights, trying to extend fights, kind of using the whole hog while his team is down. Talon Esports are happy to just continue to fight in terms of the chaos. They get to just use all these DPS ultimates, find all the damage, charge more, and now looking for a grab.
Throws it over the top. There is definitely no opportunity for a D.Va to stop it, so just quick conversion. TYG even finding Junwoo in the back line of that. And the one counter kill from Ambio is not enough. We've seen that so much. Talon get a good 3, 4 or more, and We Are Eternal get maybe 1 kill back.
But to be honest, that one counter kill would be worth a lot if they didn't start losing so many members. If they drop one member, they can get it raised up by Grace, who's now going to be on a Zenyatta, so that's not going to be an option anymore. We're starting to swap onto another triple DPS here. Kana's onto the McCree, which maybe counters out TYG in a week, but less than 1 minute to go here on the timer.
I mean, that's the thing. It's so late in the day. They have to get so much momentum now, and consider they still need to fully cap out and have a comparable bit of time. Kana's already taken pressure. Grace taking pressure. Dragon Strike.
It's not going to do much.
Kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It's such a stab in the dark. And speaking of stab, a weak deflecting the flashbang. That's a rare kill feed. And then goes ahead and gets 2 with the blade, 1 with the quick melee, and a brief emote to rub it in.
Yeah, the Dragon Strike just has no value. Like, even if you throw it into a bunch of members, which you probably did, it's so easy to walk out of the way there. There's still an EMP available. Now, quad DPS from Talon as Persia just wants to run back on the point as a soldier.
See,
doesn't even get there in time.
Yep, I was going to say,
doesn't need to get there on time.
Even has an EMP. But, oh man, I mean, what a weird map, let's be honest. We had triple DPS versus quad DPS, and then after that, we still had the triple DPS out of Talon. I don't even know what We Are Eternal were trying to do.
Honestly,
I don't even think they knew what they were trying to do there.
If nothing else, it was super entertaining.
That was a blast.
And again, after seeing 3 maps of back-to-back goats.
That was a good dessert after a great 3 courses.
Well, it's quite, I don't know. Goats is pretty tough to chew, but at least for me. But you get to the end there, after, again, seeing back-to-back goats for 3 in a row, then 7 DPSs out of nowhere. That's probably how I want to end the series. And there is a world where, look, a team does have to bite the bullet and say, okay, we're not going to be the ones playing a ton of DPSs into a ton of DPSs, but neither team wanted to be that team. Both of them wanted to have they had the confidence to say, we're going to end things our way. We're going to finish the series in this sort of fashion. And, I mean, Talon Esports are expectedly the better team.
Right.
I think even if you play, the problem here for We Eternal is, on some level, they are forced to do something different because in a pure mirror on a 1-to-1 scale, pound for pound, I don't think they have the confidence to really beat Talon Esports, so they had to pull something out. But I think that's going to wrap everything up here for the first match. Anyway, we are going to take a bit of a break, but when we do come back, match number 2 is going to be the tie matchup, Lynx TH versus Xavier, coming up right after this.